We've got to find ways to bring equitable funding streams to libraries to enhance your technical infrastructure, bring more staff, and stop the hemorrhaging that occurs because libraries are just not built to accommodate the numbers of people that are coming in. And those appropriations happen in Congress, and they happen at the state and local level. And they need to ensure that libraries are equitably funded, much like schools. If we don't make that argument for libraries the same way that we're making that argument for schools, we're going to see the widening digital divide of the people that I just talked about. These are real people that exist in America that are offline. Libraries need more public-private sector partnerships. Yeah, it's great when a company can come in and say, hey, we're going to build a program and we're going to offer free internet access to individuals, but guess what? You can find them better in my library than you can on the street. Having those partnerships allows these tech companies that are now using our data as a commodity to bring funding to advance, and perhaps, the day of artificial intelligence will mean that you can walk in a library and you don't even have to touch anything. They will read your mind and say, I'm looking for this book. I'm trying to tell you all that's going to happen. As scary as it is, it's going to happen with artificial intelligence. Libraries need to be on the cutting edge of those public-private sector partnerships. Libraries are not just marginal actors in the digital economy. They are actually the drivers of the supply chain. They're the best testers of new products and services. They are the place where we should be installing new technology in ways that actually advance rather than eliminate and destroy printed media. They already did a number on newspapers. They can't do that with libraries with good public-private sector partnerships. Libraries can actually innovate because you already have. There's no reason a company like Amazon, and I don't know if Amazon is here, but I don't care, wouldn't find ways to actually test products and services within libraries. We are representative of America's democracy, and it's important to have those partnerships. And third, libraries need to always be recognized for the authentic voice that they bring to community. Legislators, and some do, should be going to libraries to hold town halls on these issues that I'm talking about. Right now in Washington, D.C., which is why I decided to do my tour, we do a lot of talking to ourselves. It's actually kind of neat. I only have to take an Uber ride about 5 blocks to talk to somebody who's just like me. But when I push myself 2.5 hours outside of DC on a plane ride to another place, I'm actually hearing the voice of America. And the voice of America is telling me, you know what, Nicole? It's not as great as they say. Or that farmer is telling me, I can see the last mile 1 mile away from my farm. Libraries have to continue to be that authentic voice of the people. You see the people. When I was in Hartford, Connecticut, and we went over to the library, like I mentioned, and I was out in the community all day, and they were painting this really horrible story about the lack of internet access, which they don't have a lot of internet access. In my interviews, I would say to people, what's your internet access in America? This is Hartford, okay? We're not talking about like a small town. They would say, oh, my experience with the internet? What do you mean, the Facebook? I was like, honey, that is not the internet. That is only one part of the internet. But when I went into that library, I said to this community activist, I said, why didn't you bring me here sooner? Because the people I thought didn't have access are sitting right here. They're lined up for these resources. They're not going to get a kiosk on a community corner, but they sure will get it at the library. And perhaps the question is, how come we're not seeing more of those libraries in communities where these people live? I did a talk about 15 years ago for the Urban Library Council. At that time, we didn't have all this new technology. It was just basic technology. It was like AOL and static email. It wasn't any of this transactional stuff that we see today. And I remember, as I was writing this, I was recalling that visit. And back then, it was about keeping urban libraries open, right? And today, I think because of the lack of appropriation, it's about keeping all libraries open right now, because certain libraries are under attack. And so I say that to you all. You are the voice for the voiceless. Speak up and let people know the importance of libraries in communities. Say something to the people that sit at those kiosks and ask them to write a letter to a legislator to bring more technology. Have compassion for the person who's waited 2 hours, but hear their story so that you can tell it to people like me and to Jane and to others who can do something about it. Be part of the solution and not the problem of closing the digital divide.